What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Grindline Podcast. This is episode 55, after our dear friend Nicholas Cronwall, who most likely won't be on the team next season. But I am here with Ryan and Tyler on a lovely Wednesday night. How are y'all doing tonight? And I don't know why I said y'all. That was weird.
You're just going right in for that Southern. You trying to reach out to our Southern fans here, Greg?
Yeah, all our two Southern fans.
Probably two, maybe three. I'll go with three. Anyways, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, Tyler.
I'm doing good. Just watching the playoffs a lot. They've been pretty wonderful, honestly. I mean, I really can't complain besides the fact that the fucking Bruins are on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, can the Carolina Hurricanes please beat them? Like, please.
Tyler, you know what else is wonderful?
What?
Your fucking headset on your shirt. Lean forward a little bit because you keep going like this and it's all over your shirt.
Sorry.
But, okay, no, Tyler, I would rather have the Bruins beat the Hurricanes so that everyone can shut the hell up about Peter Mrazek and then have the Bruins lose in the final.
Yeah, but I'd rather not see the Sharks win the Stanley Cup. No, please.
It's not going to be the Sharks, though. It's going to be the Blues.
The Blues.
The Sharks just need to make it so we have that second round pick.
Yeah, I'd be okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point because I totally wanted the Avs to win and then suffer a defeat at the hands of the Blues, but I want the Sharks to win now. It's a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, so tonight we can all agree that we are doing good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not bad. Let's not ruin that, okay?
So I think part of what made our week so great, I guess. So we've got a couple things to go over, but first we're going to start with the news of actually, you know what? What we're going to say first is congratulations to the Toledo Walleye for making it to their was it the conference finals?
Yep, that starts here, I think, this weekend, correct? If I remember seeing the tweets correctly.
Yeah, so the Toledo Walleye made their conference finals. We had someone ask us last week what people from the Walleye do we think have a chance at making a Red Wings roster. I told them that Pope and Sadoway are kind of a long shot. And there was one person that I felt, let's see, there's one person that I felt could make the team given time. And that person is, why can't I find his name? Holy shit, they've got Zach Gallant. I think that given time, Zach Gallant could make the Red Wings roster. He's young. He's come up pretty quickly, and he's provided some pretty good leadership and a pretty good depth center. I mean, he probably projects to be a third, fourth line center, but I think he, out of the entire Walleye roster, would be the one to possibly make the Wings.
Didn't they pick him up, 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 drafts ago.
I remember the name because I remember them talking about it. But to the point of when they play, game 1 is this Friday night. Today is Wednesday, May 8th. So Friday, May 10th is their first game in Toledo at home.
Got it. Yeah, we picked up Zach Gallant in 2017 in the third round, number 83 overall. He had 25 points in 30 games with Peterborough Petes. And in 2017, he had 31 points in 54 games. So he really upped his game between 2017, 18, and 18, 19. And right now he has 4 points in 4 games with the Walleye. So I think Gallant is probably the most likely out of all the Walleye prospects to make it onto a Red Wings roster at some point. Probably just not soon. But good job, Walleye. And we are going to talk about our first main subject tonight, which is Ken Holland. And if you haven't seen over the past week, the extremely awkward press conference where Edmonton introduced Ken Holland as their new general manager and VP of Hockey Ops, or was it President of Hockey Ops?
He's President of Hockey Operations as well.
With full autonomy.
Yeah, and they made sure to make that clear. He is the general manager and president of hockey operations with full autonomy, meaning that at least to the public, it will be perceived that no one is getting in his way, which I think could hurt him because behind the scenes, there could be people getting in his way, but he can't talk about it. And they've said publicly, we're not getting in his way. So if he messes up, I mean, that's on him, and he really can't blame anyone because the full autonomy line came out in public.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you guys feel about Holland moving right after Chris Ilitch said that he was signing a contract to stay on? And do you think it was all kind of bullshit? Do you think Ilitch was bullshit and just to save face?
I don't think so. I think from what I've read, I mean, they could be doing the straight political move like we always talk about at this point every year. But I mean, it sounds like every indication was that that was the intent, to have Kenny stay on and retire Red Wing, because I mean, until this point, he was there for 36 years. I mean, for most people in any job, you're with a company for that long and you're going to stay there and retire unless something stupid or crazy happens. And I think the crazy thing happened and he decided to keep going. I think one of the biggest things, I think Kenny, more than anybody else, felt that he probably would go somewhere else. But I think the offer that, I mean, you, what, 5 for 25? That's pretty tough to pass up as a GM in a GM role. So, yeah, I don't think that was the true intent, but it's not surprising in a way.
Yeah, what I think is, I think that the intent was to keep him on, and I think that Ken wanted that, and then when he stepped back, or I guess stepped up, it looked like he probably thought that no one would come calling, and probably stupid of him because obviously he's one of the best GMs in the last 25 years, or maybe even more than that, and he obviously was going to have some suitors. And then when he got the offer from the Oilers, he probably just couldn't pass it up. And plus, he probably had that desire to continue being a general manager, but he knew in Detroit it wasn't the right thing. It was the right thing to let Steve Yzerman come back and take over. And he probably had some kind of burn in his belly to continue, being a GM, but it just, he knew it wasn't going to be in Detroit.
Generally, when you have a burn in your belly, it's acid reflux. But Ken Holland,
you're so funny, Greg. You're
he had
so
said
funny.
he had said in the press conference,
a burn in your whatever way you want to say it, but an urge to still be a GM, and he got that offer and he just couldn't refuse it.
Yeah, he said that when Yzerman was named general manager, him and Stevie, and I think he said Martin, went out to go scout the under 18.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just kept thinking that he still has the will to be a general manager and the fire and the readiness, and that's what he wants to do, is be a GM. So when Bob Nicholson called him, they had their talks, and it all happened relatively quickly.
Yep.
But yeah, Ken Holland is now the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers. He goes from one team with severe cap issues to another team with severe cap issues, and players like Milan Lucic on a $6 million deal forever, which provides you absolutely nothing.
It's their Justin Advocator, so really it's fitting for him to go over there to that situation.
It's their Justin Advocator plus is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got some interesting stats on Ken Holland's career. So I think one of the big ones that Ryan found was Ken Holland was named the NHL GM of the decade from 2000-2009 by SportsIllustrated.com. He had 4 President's Trophies, 2002, 2004, 2006, and 2008. 10 division championships. I'm not going to read the dates because that would be kind of crazy. He won 5 regular season conference titles, 02, 04, 06, 07, and 08. He reached at least 100 regular season points, a league high 13 times in the last 17 seasons. So that's crazy. I think that, and I guess it all depends on how long Ovechkin goes for. I think Tampa and the Caps may be the only people to come anywhere near that.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see Calgary keeping up 100-point seasons. We lost Tyler.
We did?
Yeah, I don't know where he went. Hold on. But we can talk while he comes back.
What happened to Tyler?
I don't know.
All right, what did you bring up about 100-point seasons?
Yeah, he 13 a league high 13 times in the last 17 seasons where he had 100 point seasons.
So going back to 08-09 for the Caps, they've done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in the last 11 years. And the other time before that was in 99-2000.
When did they do it in the last? How many times did they do it in the last 5?
Going back to 14-15, they've done it every year.
How far back have they done it?
What do you mean?
Skip like missing 3 seasons. How far back have the Caps broke 100 points? So if I go 7 years back, how many times have they hit 100 points?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you go 8 years, if you go back to the 9-10 season, it's 7.
Okay, so that means
7 out of the last 10 years.
Yeah, they'd have to see. But the thing is Ovi can't keep up what he's doing forever. So I don't think any team is really going to reach that threshold. Let's see, what else has he done? And we just figured this out before the show. Since he was appointed to his current position, which now it's not his current position,
right?
Since July of 1997, the Red Wings have 925 regular season wins and 119 playoff wins for a total of 1,044 wins since July of 1997. Which, if you think about it, that's pretty nuts. That's a lot of winning.
I think the only one that's remotely near that is Poyle, correct? Over in Nashville.
Yeah, he's been there since the beginning, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's the only one that was more tenured at a single team.
Yeah. And I think the last stat that was pretty cool was during his time as a scout, Holland was involved and oversaw the drafts that got the Red Wings Lidstrom, Fedorov, Konstantinov, Kozlov, McCarty, and Osgood. So he was instrumental in drafting some of the big name players that are, Lidstrom and Fedorov's, they're legends for the Red Wings.
I mean, Konstantinov and McCarty to an extent, and Ozzy. I mean, really, all of them are. Kozlov is probably the least known guy out of that group that you just named off.
He's still part of the Russian 5, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. But of the names that he named, like, you're still seeing consistently at Wings games now, McCarty. Konstantinov is still in the area. You mention Nick Lidstrom to anyone, and they get a boner. Fedorov is still the Russian. I mean, and then Ozzy, he's still around doing the games and everything. So I mean, all those
fancy
guys,
scarves and everything.
This is his beautiful maroon and red scarves.
Yeah, so I mean, Holland has a lot on his resume. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame general manager once he retires, of course. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that even if you have all this beautiful stuff, sometimes bad things overshadow your good things.
Justin,
like a 7-year, $4.25 million contract for Justin Abdelkader.
Jonathan Ericsson.
Yeah, Ericsson's contract, grasping at straws to sign Franz Nielsen because all the
Franz Nielsen.
Steven Weiss.
Yeah, grasping at straws to sign Franz Nielsen because all the other good free agents were gone.
Legwand.
Kyle Quincy.
God damn it.
Eric Cole.
God damn you, Kyle Quincy.
Marek Zidlitsky.
Eric Cole would have been fine if he was injured, I think.
He died after 3 games.
Yeah, broke his neck or something.
It was a severe, I forget exactly what it was, but it was something severe with his neck that if he would have played, he would have been severely hurt.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't really. So we're still paying Steven Weiss.
God.
2 more years, right?
Steven I think Weiss? So. I think
it's that's almost gone.
Yeah, so
thank God.
He has a resume that cannot be matched really by any other general manager, almost in the history of hockey. But when you make so many questionable moves, and people will say he made those moves to extend the streak, okay. But at what point?
I absolutely agree with, because they still had a solid core in place that they could do something with that. They just didn't win.
But at what point does your owner tell you we need to keep the streak alive? Do you not say back to him, but at what cost? We're mortgaging the future for a few more wins now to sell a few more tickets now, but we're going to be bad for 5 years down the line. I mean,
we're living through that right now.
Exactly. So, I mean, when you make so many moves like the Eriksson signing, Abdelkader signing, Weiss, Nielsen, Danny DeKeyser to an extent, Darren Helm to an extent, when you make those kinds of signings that close together or do stuff like that close together, it's fresher in people's memory. And over time, that's not what he'll be remembered for. But for the foreseeable future, a lot of people will see it as Ken Holland mostly negative because look what he's left us with now.
Well, and I think
we also go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say to that point of at what cost, first round picks were the cost.
Yep.
I mean, you go back starting in 2012, they didn't have a first round pick. They didn't have a first round pick in 11. 2010 was Riley Sheehan. 09, no first round pick. Their pick in 08, the cup year, was Tommy McCollum, who didn't do shit. Then
he
before
sucked.
that was Brendan Smith. Then back in 06, no first round pick. 05 was Jakob Kindle. But then here's where it really hits
Jonathan
hard.
Eriksson.
Yeah. Here's where it really hurts the most is that you go back to like 04, they had no first or second round pick. 03, no first or third round pick. 02, no first round pick. I mean, this is getting way deeper than we need to, but like to what you just said, Greg, do you mortgage the future on this shit? They traded so many assets away. Like that first round pick in the fucking Kyle Quincy trade ended up being fucking Vasilevsky in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I don't like playing what ifs, but
I know it's crazy, but that's what that ended up being.
They also did win 4 cups, go to 5. They also had chances to, they were in the Final Four a few times. There were, years that they were President's Trophy winners and lost in the first round. There were years that they had great seasons and lost in the first round or the second round. There's years where they lost in, the third round. It just there was a ton of cost there, but there was also a ton of reward because you built something that was sustainable.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't generally blame a lot of the losing on the general manager until you have losing seasons. If you have a winning season and you lose in the playoffs, okay, but you made it to the playoffs and you've shown that your team is a good team. But just like you can't blame Yzerman for Tampa shit in the bed in the first round because he put together a good team.
Look at 060.
No, but you can blame Julian Brisebois for not doing anything at the trade deadline.
Yeah, but what were they going to do though?
I wouldn't have done anything at the trade deadline if I was
Why
Tampa.
Not? Why not?
It's like the Chicago Bulls when they won 72. What are you going to do to that team?
Well, because obviously it wasn't good enough. That's why.
But it was perceived at that point. It was perceived as good enough. They're the best team in the league by far.
Yeah, I don't think.
See, but you have to look at that point in time and say, look, okay, yes, we're doing really good. There's obviously going to be what's the word I'm looking for? A slip at some point in our game. Unfortunately for them, it was in 4 games in late April or mid-April, and they were done.
For that series loss, I completely blame the players 100%.
Yeah,
because I think
they weren't there.
They didn't take Columbus seriously.
No,
they didn't. Nope. No. They thought, we can just sweep past these guys because they barely made it into the playoffs by like 2 games, I think.
Yeah.
And we're so much better. We're the President's Trophy winners. We've got this crazy season going on. We tied the Red Wings record with an asterisk. We're just going to trample them. And they didn't. They had no response for just Columbus relentlessly attacking them.
And I think the biggest thing for Columbus too, going and not trying to take away from the fact that they barely got into the playoffs, but they were firing at all cylinders those last 2 weeks of the season. And they took that momentum and they didn't fucking slow down against Tampa, and it showed.
Yeah, and they were well rested, and generally well rested teams don't fare too well. I mean, it depends, but they stomped a hole in Tampa. And Tampa had no response, and I don't fault the general manager, just like you can't fault Holland for first round exits. Sometimes you can fault the coach for not having the team ready, which is a big overused, I think, statement. He didn't have the team ready. I think maybe a quarter of that falls on the coach. A lot can fall on the coach for not changing schemes midway through to respond to stuff, or not motivating between periods, telling them that, like, being hard enough on them to get their shit together. I don't know how crazy of a coach Cooper is behind the scenes, but I mean, I can blame that on him. I know Babcock would peel the paint off the walls in between periods when the Red Wings weren't doing well. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can blame a general manager if your team is losing midway through the season and you don't make any changes. But it looks odd if you're the best team by far midway through the season and you make changes. I think that looks weird.
Yeah.
But
And one other thing I was going to mention about the draft piece, I know some people are probably like, well, you don't always get the great things in the first round. And really, if you look at Detroit's history, especially going back to guys that are still playing, so back to 07, 08, Holland's drafts have really been the money from the third round to the fifth round. Gus was a fourth round pick. Mrazek was a fifth round pick, even though there's debate on whether or not he was worth anything. Athanasiou, fourth round pick. Burt was a late second. Let's see. Christopher N was a fourth round pick who turned into Glendening 2.0. Vilisari RV was a third round pick back in 15.
What about Athanasiou?
Athanasiou was a fourth.
And that's a good find.
Fourth round, 110th
play
overall. Yeah. And for really, if you look at his entry draft, and he had 248 games at the London Knights and only 130 points.
I think not enough is being said, Greg and Ryan, for Ken Holland, what he's like put on the tee for Steve Yzerman. Like, I think the Red Wings are in a much better situation right now than they were last year, or even than they were a few years ago. Like, Steve Yzerman comes in and the cupboards aren't totally bare.
Tyler,
I mean, they're not stocked. Yes.
Why are you screaming?
He's passionate right now.
Your microphone's clipping out. That's why I'm saying it.
Oh, is it? I can hear him good.
Okay.
Well, no, it's getting to a point where it's distorting the sound.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm just saying, like, it gets to a point where, you know, they have people stacked in the cupboards now, and, you know, it's not totally full like it would be in Tampa or anything like that, but they're in pretty good shape. They have some prospects, and they have a lot of draft picks, and I think Colin's done a pretty good job to start the rebuild. Now Yzerman is going to have to, you know, kind of build on that and kind of go from there.
Ted Colfin with Detroit News actually had a good little article that was published today, actually, late afternoon. And he went around asking some NHL pundits about what they thought the direction of the Wings was. And most of them were actually pretty impressed with what Holland was able to put together the last couple of years, to kind of further your point there, Tyler. So it's not all doom and gloom. I think we've been kind of preaching that since the start of the season for what's already there and what's coming. So he's done well, but most assholes of the Red Wings fandom, which sometimes we can be included in that, are going to remember Justin Abdelkader and Jonathan Ericsson type shit rather than what he's been doing in drafts and everything else.
Yeah, but I think we're going to lay down right now. We are not bashing Ken Holland.
No.
We will criticize him for his bad moves, and we will laud him for his good moves. Like we said, he's a... What?
I was going to say, I sometimes get drunk and say things, but that is neither here nor there.
But Greg, the other thing you could say, too, is, like, you know, you've been somewhere for such a long time, you're bound to make some kind of mistake.
Yeah, and he said that in his presser.
You know?
He said, you're bound to make mistakes. Every general manager is bound to make mistakes. And I even said that on Twitter. And people are running at me on Twitter saying, why are you bashing Ken Holland? I'm not bashing. It's the same thing we do about the team in general. You criticize a team when they make moves that are not best for the team. So you can criticize Ken Holland for the bad moves that he made. You just have to realize that he's made many more good moves than he's made bad moves. Like we said, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame general manager. There's no doubt in my mind. But you can say that the Abdelkader signing was bad. You can say that the Nielsen signing was bad. You cannot say, however, that he looked into the future 7 years down the road and thought that this was going to be the position the Red Wings would be in. That's bullshit, and I'll call you out on that. Because he will even admit that, and he said it again during the press conference, some of the signings he made did not turn out the way he thought they were going to turn out. And I guarantee you he was talking about Nielsen and Abdelkader and Eriksson
Stephen Weiss.
and Weiss. Exactly.
I think the biggest one of that group that didn't pan out is Abdelkader.
Yeah, well, they signed to him for what he did on one season instead of signing
Same
him
with
for
Eriksson.
what they thought he was going to do.
Really, all the guys we just mentioned were signed to lucrative deals based off of one good year. Because Nielsen was able to ride the coattails of a good Islanders team and being with John Tavares, which Detroit has no one that can be at the level of Tavares at this moment.
No.
And he got paid.
Would you guys go down the road and saying he even overpaid Johan Franzen for one really big playoff run?
No.
I don't think he overpaid Franzen because you can't. I think if Franzen would have stayed healthy, I mean, his seasons were great when he was healthy and when he was on the ice.
I'm not saying I didn't. I'm just saying.
Most people compare the Franzen deal to Hossa leaving, but I think there was more at play overall than just the Franzen piece. I think he wanted to bring both back. It just so happened that Franzen was the one that he was able to afford.
Yeah, and right. I think if Franzen would have stayed healthy, I mean, he would have been, and he was a great player, and he would have stayed a great player. It's just unfortunate that he had the concussion issues, and that's a whole nother subject that we'll get into on another podcast, because Franzen, he's some pretty dark stuff with Franzen. He's having a super rough go, and it just points to the issues that the league's having with CTE and concussions and players just beating the shit out of each other, and Gary Bettman saying there's no correlation. I
would say
that,
less
man.
so now as players know about this kind of stuff, as we go forward, I guess from 07, 08, or even before 07, 08, now you're starting to learn that. And so players, they know that coming in, where before they had no idea they were just playing, and, you get dinged up a little bit, you go back to the bench and you come back out and, you're seeing stars, but you don't care because there's Stanley Cup on the line or, whatever.
Except for that we've had 2 suspensions for head hits in this playoffs alone.
Well, exactly. And that's why I'm saying that, the league is trying to – they've been trying to get that out for a long time. And I think they've done a pretty good job. The league isn't as dirty as it once was. And I think this is the cleanest hockey we've seen in a long time, except you have Brad Marchand running around out there.
Yeah, like a fucking idiot.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, we're going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
All right, enough.
I'm going to pull us out.
But I mean, the other thing too, how many general managers in hockey, for what Holland's choice to step aside to let Stevie come in, how many GMs can say that they had Forbes write an article about a leadership lesson for stepping aside to let someone else take over?
Yeah, that's
the type of leader that was in charge of Detroit. I mean, he was there for 36 years. GM, 22? Is that what it was? 22 seasons? Yep. I mean, I can't say that I read Forbes too often, but doing a little bit of searching on Kenny Holland, April 23rd, they had a full write-up on what it meant for a leader to swallow his own pride and step aside for someone younger and likely better to come in and take the reins while he's there to help him out. I mean, now he's gone, granted, but it's
having the foresight to know that your time is up and that you're not going to be able to get the team to the point where it needs to be in the time you have left.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what gets me going, though. Why does Edmonton think it's going to be any different there than it was here in Detroit?
Is that really a question?
Their cap situation's not much better.
It's Edmonton. They're consistently making bad decisions.
You know what sucks about Lucic too for that contract is it's a no movement clause until 2021.
Because they're dumb. Peter Chiarelli is one of the worst. I don't even know how he got that position.
But
how did he win a Stanley Cup?
I don't know.
Dumb luck.
But to that point also, only 3 total contracts have no movement clauses on their whole roster, not including the goalies. Everyone else is completely expendable for the Oilers, for Holland to wheel and deal if he needs to.
which is good, which means they can trade them for Darren Helm and Danny DeKeyser and Jonathan Erickson.
Yeah, when was the last time?
Please.
When was the last time Ken Holland made an actual hockey trade between two teams that actually worked out for both sides?
Greg, didn't you tweet that out a little bit ago?
What?
The most recent actual trade, or I saw somebody was bitching about it. Maybe it wasn't you.
Ken Holland was not known for making player-for-player trades. He
No.
was known for making player-for-pick trades. We know that by
He was the asset
David
construction king.
Legwan deal. But yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, it's Ken Holland, great GM. Thank him for his time. Good luck in Edmonton. Let's
agree,
rein in the Yzerman era, soak it all in, give
Hence
Stevie
my
full
shirt right
control.
now.
Yep, and see what happens.
Still need
we
to
will,
get one of our own shirts. I'm not really supporting the brand very well, but it is what it is.
I have that shirt too. Bring hockey back is great.
Yeah, they got some good shit.
except
I
for
still
that we've got good shit. I make
Oh,
it.
we do. We have
We do
better
have good
shit.
shit. That's why I said I'm not really supporting the brand right now.
So we're gonna move on to, and we'll just mention this pretty quickly. Yzerman made his first move by signing Pat Verbeek as an assistant general manager. Pat Verbeek was with Tampa, was in Tampa with Yzerman, and I think most people thought he was going to bring him over. The initial thought by Elliot Friedman was that that Yzerman would be president of hockey ops and Verbeek would be general manager. But as it turned out, I mean, and for the better, that Yzerman will be GM and Verbeek will be an assistant. So Verbeek brings a lot of experience. He played for the Red Wings. He's a little ball of hate. It's good to have him back. And Pat Furschweiler has been notified that he will not return as an assistant coach. So the Red Wings will be finding a new assistant coach.
Which isn't really a bad thing.
No, not at all. I mean, it's always better. I mean, maybe we'll get one with hair so that Pierre doesn't get confused. But what will and speaking of that, and I want to just bring this up real quick. I should have been working when I did this, but
this was fantastic, by the way.
I did a fun little research study. So our good friend Sarah over at Winging It in Motown, you know her. She was on our podcast.
Helmeroids.
She had the question, I wonder what the bald to not bald ratio of coaches is in the NHL. So I went, and this was, I don't know why I spent so much time on this. I went to every team's website, looked at their coaches, assistant coaches, and associate coaches, the guys behind the bench.
You looked at all of those?
109 different coaches that went into the study here, and I graded them in 4 different categories: bald, mostly not bald, and not bald. There are 4. So Tyler, you would be considered bald.
Good.
So, and she even asked, what's Jeff Blashill considered? I said, well, he shaves his head, so he's bald.
Yeah, that counts. That's what I did.
And the results are, I'm like a clickbait article. The results will shock you. 54% of NHL coaches are not bald. They have full heads of hair.
What does Bruce Cassidy count as?
Hold on. I got to look up his picture. I had to do a lot of Googling to figure out.
Mostly not bald because he's got a
bald
spot,
like on
right?
the top. Yeah.
What I looked at was I also found out that a lot of NHL teams' websites blow and they don't format it well because I had to search Google for something. No, Bruce Cassidy is nowhere near bald.
I said mostly not bald.
So Bruce,
not bald. Okay.
So 54% are not bald, 20% are mostly not bald, 10% are mostly bald, and 16% are completely bald. So
I'm more impressed by that 16% because
I know it's shocking.
Most guys can't pull it off on a bald head. Thankfully, when I did shave my head, for most of you, this is a little background. I shaved it just because I was lazy, and now I'm not allowed to because my wife said so. But
don't do it.
It's kind of refreshing. It's so much easier to deal with. So I can't blame that 16%.
I found there are some guys that have crazy hair too. I think one of the Minnesota Wild's coaching staff has like an emo haircut, like a swoopy emo haircut, and he's like probably in his mid-30s. So, and his hair's like red. He's like a ginger. It's crazy. And then I found a lot of guys probably need to like shave their, like Lindy Ruff needs to shave his head. So my next task has been figuring out what the win-loss ratio between bald coaches and non-bald coaches is, and that's going to take a little more research. But we're going to move on
you
to
need to
Greg, you have
send me
too much time on your hands.
Greg, you need to send me these details, and I can toss this shit in a Tableau.
It's going to be crazy.
We'll hook up with was it McCourty and get him get some ineffective math going on this stuff.
Oh, Micah?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll get with Micah. Said this is above his pay grade. He
I
said
saw that.
figuring out the win-loss ratio.
Yeah, you send me
But-
that stuff. We'll go with the bald ratio, then get the win loss. I can make some fun little charts in Tableau.
I wanted Prashant on it. So
He'd do it in 5 minutes. He's great
yeah.
with math, isn't he?
Who?
Seems
Yeah.
like it. Prashant.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna go on to some more serious stuff. We're gonna talk about the first player move that Steve Yzerman made or is making. He has not made it yet. It's been reported that it will happen after the Worlds. But we will be the Red Wings, and if everything goes correctly, we'll be signing Oliver Kasky. Now that's Oliver, not Oliver, unless the Finns pronounce their
actually
W's like
pronounced?
V's.
I was gonna say, is it pronounced Oliver?
It might
Could be
If
Oliver.
if the Finns pronounce their W's like V's like the Germans, then it's Oliver. But reading it looks like Oliver. Oliver Kasky, who is the MVP this year of the Pelicans in the Liga, which is the Finnish men's league, the top league in Finland. He finished this season with 19 goals and 51 points in 59 games.
Mm-hmm.
He is absolutely, if you look at his highlight reels, and Ryan brought this up, Ryan says he looks a lot like Filip Hronek.
In his playing style, yes, in the offensive zone. I haven't seen his defensive highlights, but I watched like an 8-minute video of his 18-19 season, and the way he moves the puck and the way he shoots the puck definitely reminded me of Hronek. The way he looks for guys in front of the net to shoot off of, he looks for sticks in the lane, and he just got a hard shot in general, and he will let it go from pretty much anywhere, and he's not afraid to attack the net. Somebody else, I forget who it was, I was talking to online, said that they kind of remind him of Sulak in the fact that he's got great offensive potential, but his defense is suspect, which you could kind of say the same about Hronek in most instances. So it'll be interesting.
What's awesome though is that he led the elite the Finnish league, the Liga, in most categories. Like his point total was 6th on the league among players, so 6th most points among all players in the league. Only 2 defensemen had a higher point total in the history of the Finnish league. After the regular season, he got the Lassi Oxenen Award, which is given to the best player in the league during the regular season, and he won that award it's a voted on award by a very wide margin. He won that award. He also was like first in defenseman for scoring, first in defenseman for points, and like I said, 6th among all players for points. But what's even crazier is that, like I said, this year in 59 games, he had 51 points. Last season in 49 games, he had 16 points. So his production, and he's 23, his production jumped like nuts, like crazy. And looking at the people who he was playing with, doesn't look like they were the reason for that jump, considering that they're 27, 28, 33 years old and not near an NHL level caliber.
I just love to see the fact that they're kind of going outside the box, trying to sign guys that, he's undrafted. He's doing well in the Finnish Elite League playing with men. He's 23 years old. And he's 6'3", 195. Is that what I saw?
He's a big boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's a right-handed shooting defenseman, which, for a while we didn't have a ton until Jensen and Hronek and those guys came. Obviously, Jensen gone. But Mike Green is also there. But
no, he shoots left, Tyler.
Huh?
He shoots left? I thought he was a right-handed.
No, he's right-handed shot.
I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah,
he's a big right-handed shot. That's why I said he reminded me of Hronek. But
we need
some of the times he got back there, he could fire it like Green too. So if that was the case and this dude worked out and made the roster, you have those 3 big ass shots on the offensive zone. Watch out.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, I'm happy that they're looking outside the box. And if that's the first move that Yzerman makes, that's a tremendous move for them. Right away. I don't know if he'll play right away or if he'll be in the AHL next year, but pretty soon he'll make his way to the NHL if he's any good. If he can play.
It's also a no risk move. I mean,
Yep.
you're not losing anything by signing him. You're not trading any players away. You're not trading any picks away. You're signing him. You're hoping he does well. If he doesn't do well, I mean, he can stay in Grand Rapids or he can go back to Finland. I mean, it's an Yzerman style move where it's a low risk, possible high reward type move.
Yeah, that's the nice thing too to that point is that because of the restrictions in the players agreements, it's a 1-year deal is all he can sign for right now, and it's a 2-way deal. So, like you guys said, he can go either way, and if it doesn't work out, fuck it.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, he's a depth defenseman. If they go into the toilet again, which most people think they're going to be in the toilet again next year. So down the stretch, somebody gets hurt. Mike Green's down. God forbid they bring Cronwall back and he's hurt or something.
Erickson
can
dies.
bring him up and see what they have.
Yeah,
they can bring him up and see what they have in him and see if they think he can play at that level or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ericsson's going to be the 7th defenseman this season. But if Daly goes down again, Daly now is super injury prone. Daly goes down.
Yeah.
He's got a solid spot. I mean, they could try and trade Daly and insert a kid like this because I don't think that. I know Gustav. That was the other thing that was announced this week is Gustav Lindstrom is coming over to North America to play next season, which will probably be with the Griffins. So
it's going to be a backed up D-core, isn't it? What's the Griffins' defense looking like right now?
Their defense is going to be good.
Their defense, I mean, as we see it, is going to be good.
Names-wise, anyways.
You can be as good names-wise as you want, but...
Well, no, you know what I mean, like potentially,
So their defenseman right now, they've got Jake Chelios, who's not going to make the Red Wings team.
No.
They've got Chalowski, who probably will. They've got Joe Hicketts, Brian Lashoff, Dylan McElrath, Vili Saariarvi, and Libor Sulak. So out of those, I mean, they also has Philip Hronek because he played through the playoffs, but he'll be in Detroit next year.
Full-time.
Yep. So you've got Hronek who will be full-time, Chalowski who will be full-time. That'll take Chalowski out of the lineup, and you can insert Lidstrom there. And then you've got Kasky who could slot into the Red Wings or could go to Grand Rapids. So the logjam's not crazy right now. The only thing that's going to happen, the only thing that's going to happen is looking at this list. Saariarvi is in a boomer bust season. I mean, that's what it is. He either performs well or you might count him as a bust and try and move him. Sulak's really got to
right?
Yeah.
Hicketts, I hope Hicketts gets traded because there's not really any room for him, and he deserves an NHL shot.
He's 23 years old, though.
I know, but unless they can pull off some kind of magic on our roster, I don't see how you fit him in.
And that's disappointing.
What do you think the chances are?
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was just going to say, what do you think the chances are they either trade some of these guys or they sign a free agent to augment and help the NHL club this year? I'm not saying sign up Carlson or anything like that, but I mean, I guess if they did that would be great. But what do you think the chances are of them bringing in a free agent that works now and in the future?
Minimal.
Yeah. I mean, Yzerman said it himself that he's not looking to make some splashy move in free agency.
No, but he did say that he'll look at it, and if it does make sense and a guy like Carlson or someone wanted to come and play for the Red Wings, I'm sure they would be pretty happy to have whoever that would be come in.
Carlson, I think, for his injury is going to ask for too much money at this point.
Yeah.
You're more looking at, and we debated this earlier today, is you're more looking at maybe a sign-in trade for Zach Werenski.
I think that is crazy, but that's just me. I don't think that's possible.
I think it's possible. You just have to give up a lot because Blue Jackets aren't in a very great cap space, and they're going to lose Panarin and they're going to lose Duchesne.
Well, they'll be okay.
Aren't you better off to get Trouba, though?
No.
At that point?
Nope. Werenski's 21.
And True
true,
was
but
20.
you'd
True
have
was
to give up
25 in an
more to
RFA.
Yeah,
True
that's
was
true.
20.
Yeah.
I thought True was 26. But I mean, if you're looking, and we had a pretty decent debate on this earlier. If you trade your number 6 pick and Athanasiou or whatever for Werenski, you're improving your defense and what could be a top 2 defenseman down the line. Then you try and trade back up into the first. So, I mean, if you trade for Werenski, it's like getting Werenski with the number 6 pick, which, I mean, slam dunk, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't
It could
think
be.
anything's going to happen, though.
It's
Do you
better. It's
do
better
you
to have
trade this year?
Werenski
Do
than
you
have.
make the attempt at this year, or do you wait until the free agent period starts
Um,
and then dangle the first round pick at the start of free agency if they can't come to an agreement with an extension for Werenski or something like that? Because if they tender him, then I say absolutely you go at it.
yeah, I'm not making the trade now. Like, all my stuff right now is I'm waiting till free agency unless someone comes along with a trade that's like irresistible.
So you think
So-
it would
You
be
wouldn't
a draft
trade
day
the number 6 pick at the draft for Werenski?
Oh, I'd trade it at the draft. If they're just saying, give me the number 6 and we'll give you Zach Werenski, I'm doing that in a heartbeat, but they're going to want more.
Number 6 in Athanasiou probably is what they would want, or number 6 in Mantha.
If it's a number 6 in Athanasiou, I'm doing that trade for Zach Werenski, yes. And then I try and package picks and prospects to move back up into the first round.
Yep.
Take one or two of those second round, like take a second rounder this year and a second rounder next year and a player and a prospect to move up.
Yep, I do that, no problem.
Maybe.
I agree.
But I think we can all agree that Kasky is a safe signing with no downside, really. That, I mean, could be a high impact player or could be nothing, but it doesn't really matter because we didn't give anything up to get him.
Could very well end up being like a Sulak signing. That's what I saw. I mean, I don't know enough about this guy without finally seeing him play a full game because, like I said, the highlights that I watched were straight offensive. So it is what it is. But I mean, what I saw in seeing that, the dude can play.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I mean, yeah. I don't think Yzerman would go after him if he couldn't play.
No, and he's already shown.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, his history speaks for itself. So, I mean, it's interesting though because you look at the free agent defensemen coming into this season. I mean, you guarantee that most aren't going to make it there. But other than the restricted guys, the unrestricted lot isn't that great.
Exactly.
Who's the best player?
Not a great free agent.
You got Carlson; he's out there, but he's 29.
Well,
Duchesne.
besides Carlson.
Well, I'm looking at defensemen.
Oh,
But yeah, Duchesne's out there, who I still think you kind of kick the tires on because he's a center. And the
I
thought,
agree.
as I said earlier today online, the thought of Valino, Larkin, and Duchesne as your 3 centermen is kind of sexy. But back to the defense, though, like for unrestricted guys, you got Carlson, who's 29, Tyler Myers is 29. Going down the list here, Alex Edler's 33. This is off cap. This is off cap friendly. So Mark Mathot 34, Cronwall 38, Anton Strawman 32, Jake Gardner.
Him, but
Jake Gardner from Toronto 28, and then the next under 30 guy is Del Zotto, who's 29, going to be 30. So there's really unrestricted wise, there's not. It's slim pickings pretty much because a lot of these restricted contracts have been bumped or they started late. So their entry level started late. So they're just kind of there.
It would have to be a trade. I mean, that's really the only either that or unless they want Carlson and they believe in Carlson. But
if it's for a 5-year deal, 5-year deal to Carlson, I think he'd probably want 6 or 7, even 6. I would be okay with. As long, but
yeah, it's 7 or 8 that I.
What do you think? What do you think Carlson is going to want?
Carlson's going to want a 7-year 10.5.
You think he's going to go north of 10?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think he's worth it, to be honest with you. He doesn't play very much defense. You know, you can search on YouTube how many times he's gotten dangled and posted up, and in his career. It's insane how many times he's been made look like an idiot out there.
think his
But you know,
ankles are
he
destroyed.
brings a tremendous force to the offensive part and to the power play, something the Wings haven't had in a long time. So, I mean, it's intriguing, but it's also risky on the defensive end where the Red Wings aren't very strong to begin with.
This was his first season since being a full-time NHLer. Because in 11 and 12, I guess he did play. 10-11 was his first true full season with the Ottawa Senators. That was the last time he had this few points. However, he only played in 53 games this year and finished with 45 regular season points. He had 3 goals and 42 assists this year in the regular season. And now he's got 12 points in 13 games in the playoffs.
He's still a good player, but I mean, his injuries are scary. And I mean, he's missing part of his ankle.
Yeah.
So,
isn't that what, was it Ericsson's got the ankle issue similar to that?
yeah.
I know Datsuk had that same
Yes.
problem. It screwed his last few years up. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's for where their defense is at. He's easily he would be their number one. Hands down.
That's not hard though.
But I think that for what they have coming, and for the fact that Green is there, if Green's healthy, number 2, then you'd have Hronek at 3. If Chalowski's there this season, there's your 4. You have a solid top 4, and then you can play with whatever you want. So you can have Bowie DeKaiser for your 5 and 6.
Yep.
Well, we're gonna have to wait to
That's
see how it all
intriguing
breaks down.
for sure. Well, the other thing is too. I don't know if I mentioned this. I said something about an 8-year deal. The most he could get is 7.
Yeah, he can do a 7 max.
He'd be an unrestricted free agent
unless they traded his rights. And he just got. Speak of the devil, the Colorado San Jose game just started. Carlson got caught at the blue line and hooked a dude in the ice for a penalty. So there's that. To your point earlier.
Yep. But I think it's a good place to cut it off because we're kind of running over on time. So, we'll see.
People wanted it, Greg.
I guess we'll see what Yzerman does.
You want it, you got it.
I guess we'll see what Yzerman does come the offseason because he's got some decisions to make. But it's all in his hands now. And trust in Stevie, like the Yzer plan version 2.0.
Yeah,
let's get our final thoughts, and we'll start with you, Tyler.
I'm happy Yzerman's back. I'm happy that they're starting to make decisions that help the team in the future. And hopefully we get to see this team, in this time of the year still playing while the weather is 75 degrees and, Little Caesars Arena is packed at some point, for the first time in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's where I would end it. And you can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91.
I'll leave it with, as though I've bitched and moaned about some of the things Ken Holland has done the last several years. If you say that he wasn't a good general manager, I'm going to call you full of shit and stupid, because everything that that Greg rattled off earlier and things that we kind of touched on shows everything and every reason why he, like Greg said, is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The Red Wings owe a lot of where they're at, pretty much everything for where they're at to Ken Holland. And all we can say as Wings fans is thank you for what you did. It's a bummer he's not going to finish his career here, at least for right now. Who knows? Maybe he does come back over, signs a 1-year deal, and retires in the front office. But wish him the best of luck. Hopefully they don't beat us. And on that note, Twitter's RDRyan33.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of say the same
thank you, Ken
thing.
Holland.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens going forward. I think we'll see kind of a different face of the organization, not afraid to make moves, not afraid to hurt feelings, signing players for a little risk, and just seeing what happens from there. But you can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You can follow the Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. You can find our podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on Podbean, on TuneIn, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. We have a merch store. We'd like to congratulate at Bolt Prospects for winning our latest contest where they got the Yzer Plan version 2.0 shirt in blue. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. But if you go to redbubble.com and search The Grind Line, you will find our shop. I post new designs almost every week, but you can get those designs on t-shirts, hoodies, sweaters, cups, clocks, pillows, really anything.
You get clocks.
Yeah, I was going to get Larkin Would Never clock for my office, but you can get clocks. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
But go there. All the proceeds from there help us support the podcast because this does cost us money, so it helps pay the bills. So for Ryan and Tyler, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town. Good job, guys.
That's pretty good,
Nice.
guys. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man.